Good Friday evening. How are you guys doing? I am doing just fine. And who am I? Well, I'm just your friendly, humble, happy, hairy host, Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver. And I'm here for it. Are you? I hope so. I hope so. Because if you're not, where are you? That's kind of a spooky question, getting all existential right out of the chute. I want to say I'm sorry, and greetings, Winterwolf. I'm sorry, Winterwolf, but greetings to you, Winterwolf. But I want to say I'm sorry for there not being a live stream tonight of Gamma World. I know we got into a good flow last week, but I felt like this was a good kind of, a good break point. And I just, I had a lot on my plate. But I want to be here for you guys, right? Providing the entertainment, the cool stuff. And boy, last night, how many of you guys were expecting that completely unexpected swerve there with the S4 knowledge, the S4 DLC that Gary dropped on us with the Slayer's Guide to Dragons, when we were talking about where did it go? It was Slayer's Guide to Dragons, Slayer's Guide to... Well, I mean, yeah. We were talking about the Slayer's Guide to Dragons, and in the Slayer's Guide to Dragons, and I'll just recap this real quick, the Ravage of Gorkai. If you want to know where the connection with just some D20 product, pick up the Slayer's Guide to Dragons, because it speaks to S4 quite a bit. There's some serial numbers filed off that, you kind of got to scrape the paint off to reveal the actual information, but it doesn't require too much work to immediately, bam, dock that back to S4. So we've gotten in standing tall and proud, Luther. We've gotten out of the wilderness areas into the dungeon of the Forgotten Temple of Tharizdun, and that's where we're going to pick up straight away tonight. We're not gonna go on a whole bunch of too much distraction and so on. So let's take a look. So it starts on a mountain of sorts, a hill. And we're going to bring that up here. Let me share this. One moment, please. Sorry about your eardrums, everybody. All right. So there we go. We're back into WG4, which again, remember, this just bolts right up to the side of S4. So we get some details of the hill that the characters have to come up to get to the temple proper. The two overviews of the temple map show the general physical contours of the mountain, map 1, and the approach to the temple and the temple proper, map 3. These are provided in order to make it relatively easy for you to handle action which occurs somewhere outside the temple. And also, if you got a sand table, you got some pink construction foam, you can, set this up as a nice wilderness map section, as you can see here. This is map number 2, though. So we're talking about map number 3. Let's take a look at map number 3 before we look at any information here, before we get into the upper level proper. We'll take a look at the map. So we'll just scroll back through here. Sorry for the scoliosis, guys. The maps must be in the back. Sometimes these PDFs, like whoever did the scanning, will put them in weird places. So let's see. Here we go. Okay. So we have an orc lair, that whole section we talked about, wilderness area where you fight some orcs. Map 4, map 5, the dungeon level. Where is our outdoor map area? Maps 1 and 2. Could have sworn I knew where those were. Map 4. Map 1. This may be one of those PDFs that we are missing pieces of, particularly in the maps. Let us scroll up, though. Now, one thing, if you've been watching these illustrations snap by, yes, we do get lots of interesting monsters in here, just like in S4. So if you take the extra monsters, greetings, Lord Corion, if you take the extra monsters you get in S4 and WG4, you've got like, what, a quarter of the monster manual too? Let's see, where is it? We'll just jump right to it here. I don't want to be scrolling up and down and you guys watching me scroll up and down. Greetings, Damien. Let's just jump into it. So there are absolutely no windows in the temple other than through the open doorway on the first upper level. No light penetrates the place. Ceiling height is about 30 feet. The pillar shown on the map indicates where thick columns rise to the roof. From them spring stone arches and buttresses. So Gary's is basically taking us through the description of the temple here. Greetings, Ian Wise. Good to see you. But there are sentries. See, S4 is kind of static. You fight the Bodak in his lair, your party flees, he's going to turn around and go right back to his lair. Lud is not going to come hunting you. Same thing with the clay golem and whatnot. There are no wandering monsters. Here, the sentries are watching and they are ready. Now, it does point out there are no wandering monsters in the temple. All encounters are shown on various keys. But take a look immediately following that. Reinforcements. Every week, some type of potentially useful monsters come into the temple area. So this kind of belies the idea that we're told here, when an area is cleared, nothing further will be encountered there. I say if your party is falling back, like if you're doing hit and run raids, there's a chance you're going to have 21 to 30 more Norkers, 3 to 6 ogres, 2 to 4 trolls, or 1 to 2 hill giants. Now, the clever party will ambush these constantly. Defense of the upper level. Initially, the upper level of the temple should be relatively easy for the party to capture, as the guards will be nothing more than a group of Norker guards with some miscellaneous assistance. However, help will be sent upwards quickly, and when the big guns begin appearing from below, it is probable the party will retire to regroup and plan an assault which will allow them to penetrate to the lower level with great speed. This is where you may have some real fun using your DM ingenuity. So Gary's taking the gloves off, or he's telling you to take the gloves off here. Once alerted to the threat of a second attack, the temple inhabitants will organize to beat the attackers before they enter the upper level, let alone go below. To this end, the giants will gather up a goodly supply of boulders. A supply of smaller rocks for hurling will also be laid by. Oil and acid will be ready. All you smart aleck players out there, Gary's giving us DMs marching orders. The monsters are going to have oil and acid too. It's spelled out right there in black and white. And I love that addition to the module. And the monsters can use barricades. Gary was at he was at a wargaming peak. He was at a wargaming peak here. The bad guys in the castle and the party basically laying siege to it. So you got the giants rolling boulders down at you, 5 to 30 points, falling in front, 2d20 falling in front of any rolling boulder, slipping from the guard wall, any character failing to roll dexterity or less on 2d20. Dexterity or less on 2d20. You got to have a monumental dex for that not to hose you. Because the average, guess what, is going to be 20. Damage equals fall damage plus 5 to 30 points. Splat. Struck by hurled rock, as usual for monster hurling it. Once they overcome this crust defense, the upper level will have to be yielded to them, and the defenders will attempt to hold whatever lower portions of the place as their strength allows. So again, Gary was going very wargamey in this. S4 is very puzzle-oriented, and I'm not saying there are no puzzles in here. I'm just saying right from the beginning, you're playing Siege of Bodenberg. I think that is the term. I'm going to send out contact. Paul, if you're in the audience, let me know. Did I get that right? Good evening, Mobius. So he mentions here, defense in general, although the organized defenders are of chaotic nature, they can present a reasonably well-coordinated, intelligent plan of defense of their stronghold. They are fighting for their lives, and they are all too aware of this fact. They will fight cleverly and to the death, but only if absolutely necessary. In general, they will hold an area for as long as possible. Then they will beat a fighting retreat to another area of defense. Once cornered, they will tend to fight to the last unless the party has shown some indication that they will grant quarter, a real show of weakness in the eyes of the Norkers and the rest. Gears says, sometimes YouTube will autoplay this stream while I'm watching a vid on another tab. Sometimes not. Glad I caught this early on this time. I was getting carried away by a concert. Glad to see you, Beth. Good to see you too, Gears. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for stopping by. We've got a small but good audience tonight. And again, in Area 2, once the party has gained it, hello, Tunka, good to see you. Oh, you found the Discord, did you, Ian? Good, good. And by the way, folks, if you're new here, and I should mention, we're at 1,137 subs. Thank you all for the people who've subbed. But if you're new to hanging around with us, yeah, we have a Discord. We very much have a Discord. Let me share that with you. Copy that, and I'll just paste that over here. So come on by. Stop by and say hi. So again, yeah, Gary's going tactical wargamer here, and he wants you, the Dungeon Master, too, as well. I have had this encounter right here nearly put 2 parties out of action immediately. Norkers and Gnolls. Now, you know, a party of 5th to 10th level, you think one-on-one versus Norkers or Gnolls, it's not going to be that tough of a fight. If they're using good tactics, oh yes it is. Oh yes it is. So they have a net trap that they will drop. Netted characters are unable to use weapons or cast spells. They have no dexterity bonus with respect to armor class, and they cannot effectively move. The weight of the net and its tarry clinging ropes is such that all under it are most effectively trapped for that round and the following one. Those near the edge can slip out in 2 rounds and be ready to fight again on the third, provided that they are not overwhelmed meanwhile. Those in the center area are trapped for from 3 to 6 rounds, depending on the roll of a D4. If all of the party members are trapped under the net, all of the nearby Norkers and gnolls will attack. The Norkers will leap upon the netted characters to bite and club them, while the gnolls will stab at those attempting to slip out. The remainder of the force will arrive on the second round, and unless a miracle occurs, the adventure is over. Think of all the latitude the party has in S4. Go down this hallway. Don't go down this hallway. Camp safely in this cave. Avoid this other cave. Parley with some monsters. Slay other monsters. Right here on the front doorstep, a party can get massacred. And Gary's statement is, unless a miracle occurs, the adventure is over. You got a character with a limited wish or an alter reality in a device, or they start praying to a deity. This is going to be the time and the place. If it's going to work, it's going to be right here. It's going to have to be right here. If any characters remain untrapped, the hidden forces of Norkers will remain in waiting to take the foe by surprise, but those to either hand, areas 4 and 5, will rush to attack those in the net, while the gnoll archers fire at the members of the party not enmeshed in the net. In this case, the Norkers will attempt to hold the edges of the net down, attacking those near the edge and making it take from 5 to 8, probably 5 to 8 rounds to escape in this manner. Meanwhile, however, characters with daggers or short swords can cut the net, freeing themselves in 5 to 8 rounds, less 1 round for every +1 of the weapon used to cut the strands. So that long tooth, that +3 long tooth that you can potentially pick up fairly early on in Lost Caverns of Tsojcanth could be a real lifesaver here. So Tonka Todd, this is a good pause here. Damien says, have the henchmen at front to trigger the ambushes. Well, you know, it's not as cruel a thing as you might think, because if they do, they're not in any real danger, because the party is going to pick off the enemy who've slept on the idea that more characters might come in. Yes, Gary was a big proponent of sandbox-style adventures, but Gary was also not afraid of the linear dungeon. Witness S1. Or G1, G2, or G3. Damien says, no matter what class you play, always keep a dagger handy. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know, you level up, you've got a fighter, he's already proficient in all the swords you want and a bow. Take dagger. And don't think this is going to be hand wavy if the party is really strong, because Gary says, if the party is particularly powerful, the net trap is to be reinforced with chains, weighted edges, and at least 20 large hooks. They make escape nearly impossible for those caught in the net, and the hooks will hold them and inflict 1 to 4 points of damage per round. Use your DM creativity here. Boys and girls, this is a dangerous ass encounter, or a dangerous ass encounter. It just depends on where you want to put the hyphen. So there's guard positions. The Norkers and gnolls guarding the upper levels of the temple are stationed in the numbered areas. As these positions will not be the same when the party enters the area, initial positioning is given here first. And then you've got some folks scattered around. A sub-chief, sergeants. The Watcher hyphens thing, that I don't know where I got that from, but we used to, a dear friend of mine, she would play Left 4 Dead with us, and she would always say, like, you know, I'm so hungry, I could eat a whole ass pizza. And I was like, a whole ass pizza or a whole ass pizza? Hyphens are important. So lots of guard posts. As these positions will not be the same when the party enters the area, initial positioning is given here first. So by the time the party gets to those areas, it's going to be a little bit different. And I think this is if the party somehow, through use of invisibility, silence 15-foot radius, levitation, however, they don't get ambushed. And so we have the Norkers, the Norker leaders, the gnolls, and the gnoll leaders. And that, again, we're focusing on a almost war game like approach, because so that's areas 1 and 2, and this is 3. 3 is just the rest of it. Interior of the level. As you examine the area, it becomes apparent that the whole place is a virtually open room of huge size. And it talks about stone, no sculptures, etc., etc. And this is just a meat grinder encounter, boys and girls. Greetings, Chris. Good to see you. This is just a meat grinder of an encounter. The smell spells to mask scent. I think you can do something with cantrips. I think. I could be wrong. So the initial defenders are 6 gnoll archers, 5 fighters, and a sub-chief. All of these Norkers, 8 of them throwing axes, a sub-chief, sergeants, so on. Here's their hit points and their armor class. Freshen, yeah, Praxis. Arriving at the end of 3 melee rounds, a pair of 6 Norkers. Arriving at the end of 4, 5, or 6 melee rounds. And it's dependent on a die roll. 5 trolls, and where they're coming from, by the way. Those and a giant troll. And if you're wondering if that's a new critter, well, let's see when we get there. Eight, 9, or 10 melee rounds. 1, 2 to 4, or 5 to 6. 2 ogres, 8 Norkers. And then we have arriving at the end of 11, 12, or 13 melee rounds. 9 Norkers. A round later, 9 more Norkers. 2 rounds later, 3 Norkers. 3 rounds later, 4 ogres. If you're doing this with miniatures, you've got a lot of stuff to have out there. And when the players see you just keep setting minis out, this is a battle royale. If your party has played through S4 and they've, it's been very carefully, we're going along, we're tapping, and they're just itching for a big fight, this is it. They spend A or S4 going along, tapping the floors, carefully searching, trying to solve riddles, trying to write stuff down before it disappears. This is a monster processor in which monsters come in this end and a thin red slurry goes up that end. Or a player processor, same result, different movement. 2 Norkers and a Witch Doctor Norker, 16, 17, or 18 melee rounds, 4 Ogres, 19, 20, or 21, 6 Norkers again, then 12, potentially as many as 12 gnolls. Available as situation dictates from 6th melee round, 2 hill giants or a 78 hit point mountain giant. If you don't have minis, then you better have a buttload of poker chips. Yeah. Or a 3D printer. Or know someone who has a 3D printer. So as trumpets fade, I was going to major in Witch Doctor Norker. Last ditch. If after a protracted struggle involving the majority of the troops detailed above the forces of the mountain giant, Grug, are defeated, the survivors will flee to the lower level. There, most will go to their own areas seeking refuge. Note the level key to show which are alive and with how many hit points. Their defenders will not be susceptible to surprise for several days, and they will attempt to set up whatever ambushes and protective barriers they can devise within their lairs. Be creative. Survivors are trapped and will tend to fight to the death. I like your thinking, Damien. With this amount of mobs, it would be beneficial to have the laser guns from the barrier peaks. Laser guns, hand grenades, maybe a suit or two of powered armor. So the surviving gnolls and Norkers, they'll beat a fighting retreat down the east or west stairs. It's just a meat grinder. And Gary again tells us to be creative, and you should. Don't just take this as like one big fight. I mean, enjoy the big fight parts. I guess let me rephrase that. Don't treat this as just one big dumb battle. Play the monsters as well as you can. Remember, you want to give your players as good as they're going to give you, because when they win, when they defeat you, they're going to feel all the better. They're going to enjoy it. They're going to savor it all the more. So we have a few numbered places in the huge room with some treasure. The littered quarter with a piece of jade worth 1,000 gold. Another littered quarter, sack containing 247 gold, and a small dagger with a silver handle and a topaz set in the pommel worth 350. All the rest is junk. It's funny what Jack Photon is bringing up in the discussion. If you guys are just listening along, I'm going to read this and I'll put it up on the screen too. Also, smell for lions on the plane, dragons, and others. Also, setting off stinking cloud cancels any surprise or stealthy sneaking around. There's no equivalent spell to invisibility or silence to hide your smell. And you're right. And this is covered under invisibility in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Intelligent monsters, they have a sense of smell. I mean, they might do something like, okay, I'm going to set a couple of guards in this hall, and I'm going to cover everything in a layer of white flour. How's a character going to not make footprints? Even if they do have silence 15-foot radius on themselves. We do have a little bit more here, I think, unless we're already... Nope. Feeling the pillow will reveal that it holds nothing save feathers, rather lumpy, but perhaps worth keeping. Hidden within the stuffing of down is a qual's feather token with a strange arrow-like feather with 4 shafts. When placed against a bowstring, the token becomes a +4 magic arrow cluster. Obviously more than one arrow, yet but a single shaft as far as aiming and firing are concerned. Once fired, the missiles divide instantly into 4 arrows. If more than one opponent is before the archer, each arrow will seek out a separate target so that up to 4 will be struck potentially. The target originally aimed at will always get 1 arrow plus any odd ones. It does look like a butt with arrows in it. So we come then to the lower levels. Where we've got a couple of hill giants. We got some furnishings. Whatever furniture was originally in the place, no one knows. For all that now occupies the chamber are 2 huge mounds of bedding. Ogre or giant sleeping places. There are 2 small casks of water, one by each bed. A large sack also rests by each bed, but each seems to be virtually empty and, in fact, holds only a couple of stones. And they have a stash of gold coins. Each giant does 1,203 gold. The other has 1,722. They have nothing else of value. There are many tells to be aware of as a DM when dealing with clever players. There are. That's very true. A mauve chamber with a couple of trolls in it. Now, the descriptions of this place, this is almost... How can I describe this? Well, we'll see when we get there. But I gotta say something right now. Tempo-wise, okay. Think back for a second and imagine the first time you ever heard Led Zeppelin 3. The first time. I'm going to guess for a lot of you it was a tape or a record, right? Now, maybe you'd heard Immigrant Song on the radio. But when you put that record down and you put the needle on, or you put the CD in and you press play, or the tape and you press play, and you get hit with Immigrant Song, like you're ready for anything. At that point, you want to go out in the garage and get your machete that you got for clearing the brush in the back of the house and just go to war with your neighborhood, right? Clever players do make the game fun. You're absolutely right. The Dr. Hurt. But the next song is Friends, and it completely it's not a bad song. It's actually a very good song. But it kind of completely throws you out of that vibe, that Viking war fantasy vibe. In fact, the rest of the album doesn't jive with it. And I think this is the Friends to S4's Immigrant Song. S4, there are all these riddles and mysteries, and yes, a lot of combat. But like the Bat Cavern, you got to figure out how to move through a cavern with literally limitless normal-sized bats, silently, lightlessly, and not disturb them so you don't get destroyed, right? And here, it's literally just, Platoon form echelon left, load heat, targets infantry. Engage when ready and roll in on them. So the subtlety of S4 so far is not present here. You're killing monsters, you're taking their stuff. And that's not a bad thing. Maybe you've got some players who've been like, yeah, Wolf's Prize, Lot was hunger tragic, teleporting doors. Yeah, this is fine. Can we fight something now? And this is their meat and drink. They get into this, and this is their meat and drink. So they complement each other. Like Friends gets back into the bluesy stuff of Zeppelin that you get, from the deeper cuts off of 1 and 2. It kind of comes back to that after that galloping 2-minute 34-second in your face epic that is Immigrant Song. Maybe there's some people who fell in love with How Many More Times, Dazed and Confused, and Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, and stuff like that. They pick up 3, and you get, Viking War for 2.5 minutes, and they're like, okay. So that's what that is the dichotomy, I think, here between S4 and WG4. But I still feel, if not thematically, at least in terms of locale, they are inextricably linked. Not as much as, say, G2 and G1, or G2 and G3, or D1 and D2. The Dr. Hertz says, my current First Ed Greyhawk game had session 23 yesterday. An auspicious number, the Doctor. The clever players unexpectedly forced a new side quest after reporting back to the Defense Ministry what they had found on their journal. Amazing. P. Cybers, good to see you, my friend. That sounds really cool, the Dr. Hurt. Can I call you just Doc? Is that okay? Is Doc okay? Yeah, Jack, that's an interesting note about King Crimson there. Yeah. I'm not the biggest King Crimson fan in the world. Not that I don't like them. I just don't know enough of their stuff, right? So you're going through, but there are little things. Once you're down on the second level, like, let's look at the large antechamber, number 2 over here. This square room has strange striations of color on its walls. These lines of plum color, mauve veins, and lilac worms make the beholder somewhat nauseous if he stares at them for more than a few seconds. These colors are faint, but they seem to writhe and twist when not looked at, as if as soon as the viewer looked away, they took up some secretive and obscene motion observable only from the corner of the eye. There should definitely be some hints that this is not merely a monster condo. Which, by the way, is kind of one of my favorite levels of Doom 2. I love Monster Condo. The Sinister Minister, I don't know. I don't know where the Padre's at tonight. He knows where we are. He knows what we're doing. So rather like the Lovecraftian overtones of the strange temple areas in G1 and G3, and a little bit of hinting at in G2, and also in B2, you could make the case. You could make the case. Oh, Joshua, thank you. Thank you for the super, Joshua. Anyway, you could make the case that the descriptions of the weird swimming, disgusting images in the Temple of Evil Chaos and B2, here again in WG4, and also in G1, 2, and 3. If you wanted to make that a thread to weave through a Greyhawk campaign, I think you've got ample reason to do so here. I think you've got ample reason to do so. Good casus belli, as they say. So your party, even as soon as Area 2, you should be giving them the hints, assuming they survived that Donnybrook up in the vestibule, that things are not what they seem. And by the way, I want to just put the brakes on here for a second, and I want to speak to you guys. If you're getting into AD&D as a DM for the first time, and I see a lot of folks over on the AD&D Reddit, and a lot of folks come to me over in our own Discord, or email me, and sometimes people just reach out to me on Facebook through social media, I guess is what I'm saying. The one thing that I want to try and convince them of it: don't tell your players what module you're playing. The Forgotten Temple of Tharizdun, just the title, even if they don't nip off to Drive Through RPG to download a copy. Even if they're not doing that, the title alone, The Forgotten Temple of Tharizdun, don't give them any prejudice about what is going to happen. I mean, when your characters arrive in Hamlet, the players have got a pretty good idea of what's going to happen, right? Keep on the Borderlands, you can screw their expectations and just delete on the Caves of Chaos and put something completely different there. You had sinister plans putting your kids to bed. Hey, Junior, does this cloth smell like chloroform? So don't look at module titles, and don't tell your players, yes, you guys have gone from the Lost Caverns of Tsojcanth, and the dungeon you are currently in is Forgotten Temple of Tharizdun. If they've never played it, and there have been increasingly, as guys like me get older and younger folks keep coming up playing D&D, these modules become surprises again. And you're right, Ian, you would only be cheating yourself. My group before this new one lasted almost 13 years. Well, hot damn, Dr. Hurt. I'm pretty happy with the group I've got right now. We started all the way back in 2014. 7 years. I mean, that's, 8 years now. 8 years. Me am no math good. So now we start to get to the under temple areas. And guys, let me tell you something. This is going to drive your players bonkers. I've seen a lot of parties go in here, fight this module, and it's good enough for the gnomes. But remember, there is a compelling, inescapable event horizon of evil created by the presence of Tharizdun's extrusion into our own reality, though it is encapsulated in the Needle Rock, as we'll see below, that will always draw evil here. So whatever your party does, they're just buying the gnomes time until or unless they can do something about this. So this secret area is a low-ceilinged room partially under the flight of stairs from the upper level. It can be reached from room 5 or by the secret closets off of areas 21 and 22. It can be exited by the latter means as well, or through use of the pivoting wall section with the entry to area 3. The features of note are the spy hole to the corridor and beyond. But also, dig this. Secret closet containing 3 hooded robes of deep purple. Sorry. 2 iron thuribles with iron chains and an iron box, all iron unrusted. Detect magic will reveal Dwemer on all items, and abjuration on the robes, and abjuration on the iron items, and a faint alteration invocation also coming from the box. The robes are very long, fully 7 feet, but by use of the black cord belt each has, the hem can be adjusted so as to sweep the ground. The sleeves are so long as to reach at least 1 foot below the hands of even a long-armed man. With each robe is a long pointed hood whose front and back points reach well down the wearer's torso, and whose sides cover the shoulders. The pointed front and back pieces are decorated with inverted 2-tiered black pyramids. Each hood has narrow slanting eye holes. The pointed top extends a foot or more above the crown of the wearer's head. The thuribles open by pressing a catch at their equator. The bottom hemisphere has a cup-shaped depression as if to receive something rounded. The box of iron opens only by touching its lid and speaking the name Tharizdun, a knock spell or a chime of opening. Inside are 18 black globes, incensed to fit inside the thuribles. Each ball burns for 3 turns without any noticeable smoke, heat, or light, as long as the thurible is kept in motion. The effects of this incense are only evident in the undertemple and the black cyst. Dr. Hertz says, one of my current players is a personal friend of Ernie Gygax. I have to change the names. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. Unbreaded, absolutely. Unbreaded. So we've got more closets. Now we get an iron horn. The horn is the wailer for Tharizdun. Its horrible deep tone seems to make the very walls of the place shake, but it actually activates magic which is seen in the undertemple and the black cyst. It has no other use discernible to the party. The iron holders have cone-shaped depressions in their fluted upper ends. The box, just as the one in the closet above, can only be opened by special means. It is larger than its fellow, and in it are 24 cones of dull black material whose rounded upper ends remind one of ice cream cones more than anything else. Each cone set into a holder and lit afire will give off a pale, seemingly heatless radiance which sheds but faint light. This will change in the undertemple and the black cyst, and they'll stay alight for an hour. So stuff is getting a little weirder. With a shaft with 333 rungs takes you down. It's the only entrance to the undertemple. If care is not exercised in climbing up or down, there's a 10% chance per person that doing so that one of these ancient bronze bars will snap or pull free. And then you've got rather nasty fall damage coming after that. The Dr. Hertz says, after every game, I write a play-by-play summary because players forget after a week and new players have a chance to understand the current story. It takes a while, but totally worth it. I do the same thing. I post mine over on the AD&D Discord. If you go to r/AD&D, you'll find posts by me. I used to make just very, very sketchy notes, and then I kind of started making them a little bit more elaborate as time went on. So at the Umder Temple, we've got an encounter with some Norkers, and now 2 Annis. These ghastly monsters serve the master of the place as cooks and maids. Unlike most of the other minions, however, they will not venture forth to attack as they have no overwhelming desire to serve. Upon entering this area, the party will see them in a changed form unless they surprise the Annis. The two will take forms of human women of the dumpy sort, appearing large, strong, fat, and clad in apparel typical of kitchen slaves. Each will curtsy, smile, and ask if the party has come to rescue them from bondage in this kitchen prison, where they feared momentarily that they would be served as dinner rather than serving the giant dinner anyway. When they're in melee range, each will attack, choosing the most powerful looking opponent as victim, and then of course we get told, hey, check that out. Praxis says, let's see. Do you ever run through WG4 screaming the Call of Cthulhu saying that I can't say? Can I post that link? I mean, it's just reddit.com/r/AD&D and look for Bill the Dungeon Delver, because it's a ton of different posts on Reddit. I can't link you to one super post that says here they are. It just sounds weird. I stick my sword in the anus. Luther, we're not here to judge where you stick your sword. If you prefer to stick your sword in the anus, then, you know, that's between you and whoever has the anus. So no treasure, a library of useless trash, couple of ogres in leather coats, a scriptorum, 3 barrels of oil, and a jug of strong acid, 40 ounces. That, by the way, is 5 pints if your characters want to make acid flasks. Couple of dire wolves. This is Gorg's treasure area, and it's worth looting. 5,000 gold piece gold flagon, 3,500 gold piece, 3 pieces of miscellaneous jewelry, an ivory box with jewels, with jeweled cover worth 2,000, a leather pouch with 21 base 10 gold piece gems. Remember when I said back before, you sit down, you crack open the Dungeon Master's Guide, you start evaluating gems. Here it is. Here's where you got to do it. An ordinary statue of an onyx gargoyle upon which some wag placed a Nystel's magic aura worth 100 gold, 2 giant weasel pelts worth 250 gold, a leather sack with 148 platinum, a tapestry valued at 275 gold, and a carved pair of ivory tusks of small size but fine work, each worth 1,000. Now, interestingly, all the way back over in S4, there are also a pair of ivory tusks. You have to attack. You can't. Let's see. 4,300 gold, 1874 EP with 2308 silver, 3 10-pound silver bars, 4,094 copper, 17 1-pound copper bars, and 9 small leather bags containing 50 bronze pieces. That's a little dip like deep into Greyhawk lore there, bronze pieces, because that's not just in the Dungeon Master's Guide what those are worth. So we have a couple of ogres in a strange room of unknown origin. A big bathroom. 13 is a big bathroom. Those of you out there who've read the classic modules and said, where are the bathrooms, Gary? Well, he put one right here. This place was once the bathing chamber for the high priest. Hidden beneath the stone floor slab are corroded valves which allow water to flow into the pool. One of the stones in the bottom of the depression is removable, and beneath it is a stopper drain. Columned hallway, ball of snakes, couple of Norkers, a few gnolls. And the Great Chapel. How long does it take to count 4,300 gold pieces? That's one of 5 chests to inventory. You know, I don't know. That's a good question. How long would it take you to count 4,300 coins? And remember, an AD&D coin is not, I mean, the diameter of this D10, which you guys can't see because I'm shrunk down, but if the diameter of a D10 is about 2/3 of an inch, same size as a dime. Would it be easier or harder to count, coins like 3 inches in diameter and 1/4 of an inch thick or thicker? So we have the Great Chapel, and again, it's creepy. It's black stone. It's purple stone. And I love this. This is in 17. This is the aisle in the chapel. Any person failing to save versus magic after, tactile sense will discover there are strange, indiscernible convolutions here which form mind pictures when touched. These impressions are pleasurable and unsettling at the same time. Oh, Gary. Any person failing to save versus magic after experiencing this sensation will attempt to return and feel the sensation once again. If this happens, that individual will automatically experience the following things. On a roll of 1 or 2 on a D6, his or her vision in total darkness will seem normal, but any light brighter than a hooded lantern will be disgusting to him or her, and he or she will immediately ask that it be extinguished, or else he or she will go elsewhere. Strange desires will begin to flood the individual's mind during times of quiet. These desires will be unwholesome at first, then absolutely strange. Now, here in this section, we are starting to slip towards the Lovecraftian creepiness here. If you've seen From Beyond, starring Jeffrey Combs, based on the HPL story, yeah. 3, the name of Tharizdun will rise unbidden to the individual's lips whenever he or she is under stress and needs aid. Imagine a Lovecraft story where, the titular cursed house just puts something on you where you're just going to start wandering around, start muttering, Azathoth, help us. Delightfully creepy. See, the whole false front of, we're going to come in, we're going to fight some monsters, we're going to fight some giants, and loot, blah, 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 blah. There's no treasure here. We're just taking coins. Suddenly your party is possessed and thinking unnatural thoughts. All of these effects can be removed with a bless if it is accomplished within 3 days. Thereafter, it will require prayer and remove curse to cleanse the effects of the Dwemer. Altar rail. I like how it's important we have this because we'll kind of go on. The square 4 portion of the chapel is divided from the sacred portion by a railing of puce-hued stone. This railing is 3 feet high and intricately carved and pierced. The work is disgusting and disturbing in nature, being of vines and tendrils, tentacles and serpentine bodies intertwined with human forms and skeletons and other things unknowable. I've seen enough hentai to know where this is going. If any non-cleric touches the rail, they will feel ill and lose from 1 to 4 points of both strength and dexterity for 3 hours. A cleric doing the same must save versus death magic, a save indicating that he or she is affected only in the same manner as a non-cleric. Sounds like the altar rail of the cathedral. Wow. Oh, Dr. Hurt, that is a deep, I mean, so let me answer your question since I think it's fairly asked and it's Friday night and we're just kind of having fun going through this. 5th edition is a fine fantasy game. I wouldn't flip a table if somebody asked me to run 5e or play 5e. It is not my favorite D&D by far. My favorite is 1st edition AD&D, followed almost so close that you need scientific instruments to determine how far apart they are, like a plank distance, would be original D&D. And a measurable distance. You could pick up the distance with like a good like classroom microscope. After that is Holmes Basic and then Moldvay Basic. But 5e is kind of outside that sphere. But here's the thing. If people who dig 5e start to look at other editions and they had never considered D&D before, and they're like, this D&D has demons and naked ladies in its books. And I'm like, please, have a seat. Let me introduce you to some of the darker stuff, some of the fun stuff, some of the fully caffeinated, some of the not diet stuff. Then it's good. If it's a gateway drug to old school, then that's fine. So that's my thought on it. Now, if you're asking me about the vibe that Wizards has got going with 5e now, I don't really want to talk about that right now because we get totally derailed. So let's see. Oh, a couple people slipped away already. I'm sorry, couple of people. Please come back. And by the way, let me just say something real quick before I forget. If you're just joining us because YouTube has given you a look at this, like, what is this Delver's Dungeon thing? I'm going to click it. Oh, wow, this guy's just talking smack about old school D&D. No, Ian, don't apologize. Don't apologize. But if you're just coming by for the first time, if you're not subscribed, please click that subscribe button. Click that bell icon for notification. And if you want to support the show beyond that, we are on both Patreon and Subscribestar. There's 2 ways outside of subbing that you can support the show. If you do click that subscribe button and you do like tonight's show, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. But I do ask that you tell me why you don't like it so I can make stuff that you do like. But anyway, to get back to it. So the raised section, this step or dais appears to be the place where an altar service might have been conducted. There's a low table of black mineral which has bits of shiny purple within its polished surface. If it's touched by non-clerics, they take 1 to 10 points of cold damage and otherwise be affected as if they touch the railing. Clerics must save versus magic to avoid death and suffer only the same effects as non-clerics. To either side are rotted and crumbling chairs of some sort. There are piles of rusted metal near the doors on the north wall. What devices or purposes these items once served is impossible to tell. On the wall behind the altar stone, there is an anomaly. The violet color of the stone seems to bear the indistinct shadow of a large, vaguely human shape, but it is so obscure and so uncertain in form that it may be a trick of the light playing upon the curving surface of the stone. Touching this area will be the same as touching the walls of the chapel twice. If the wall here is touched a second time, the individual doing so must save versus paralysis or fall into a morose dejection, refusing to fight or move. This will end in approximately 1 hour, and thereafter the individual will have an overwhelming desire to remain in the temple and get to know its every aspect, certain that there is something which must be discovered. Bless, prayer, and remove cursed are needed to rid the victim of this desire. Have I thought about Twitch? I have thought about Twitch. And if I could split my streams and be on YouTube and Twitch, I would do that. I would do that. But I do, you can, I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying you can super chat. You can super chat me here on YouTube also. But anyway, that's just to answer the question, guys. Indeterminate vestments moldering away. It's like the temple is made of a drug like heroin. Yeah, I mean, and that's the insidious, horrible nature of the deeper you get into the Forgotten Temple of Tharizdun. Right? That's why the monsters are here. That's why they won't leave. So we got a sanctum with brown mold, making things nice and cold. Oh, you know what? Some of you folks are just coming here for the first time. Tuesday nights. I just want to point out, if you're new to the show, Tuesday nights we play first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons in a live stream on this show. It's not scripted. It's not planned out. There's no preconceived anything. Anything can happen. And a lot of times we use Dwarven Forge out there on the table. Dwarven Forge and minis. So if that's your jam, be here on Tuesday nights, 8:30. 8:30 we play. No, it is bless, prayer, and remove curse. All of them, Mark. All of them. Chris says, don't mess with the altar. Ark of the Covenant. Yeah. So the giant troll has got some real loot here. Umbog. He will bring a barrel of oil to hurl first, followed by a torch. He's got a belt set with golden gems worth 6,000, 10 base 50 GP gems, 10 base 100 gems, 2 base 500 gems, and 1 base 1,000 gem. No increase in value possible if belt is damaged. Under the firewood is a bit of loot, a large sack containing 14 platinum, 297 gold, 76 electrum, and 190 silver. There's nothing else of value. The Amethyst Chamber. Again, black, lilac. Even though the room is striking, there's a feeling of unease here, as if you're intruding in a place not yours. Trolls have some potions. Priest chamber is just filthy with Norkers. Norker guards. Purple domed chamber with 4 ogres. Cloth draped room. With a Norker witch doctor hanging out. No, never ignore encumbrance. So there's a lot of dangerous stuff in this dungeon, but there's a lot of unsettling stuff. But it's when you get to the dungeon level where things really get creepy. So let's dig into this. We got a good audience. Thank you all for being here. I think we peaked out at like 24, 25 people. That's awesome. So I don't want to just like be well, there's a set time. Bye. I do want to have some tacos in a little bit, but let's talk about the dungeon level before tacos, shall we? The dungeon is of all black stone, basalt. 20-foot wide passages and attendant chambers are well done. The surfaces are polished and the floor smooth. The columns and supports are fluted and worked in bas-relief. The ceiling is arched to about 30. The side passages and chambers are only about 15 and 20 feet high, unless otherwise noted. The walls are roughly hewn and the floors smoothed only by the passage of many feet. The cavern at the far end is natural, and bats using it have tended to move south into the worked area as well. The party will note bat droppings and hear their fluttering and squeaking wherever they listen, but these bats will not be a problem to them, although they could be really friggin' paranoid after the bat cavern in S4. We have a little boxed text. We'll go over that. Descending the stairs, read to the players. You move cautiously down the worn steps of dark gray stone. The flight continues straight for some distance. You count over 100 steps before you notice the walls are again of black rock, polished basalt. Or basalt. It's like Caribbean or Caribbean. Another 20 feet or so, and you're standing in a large chamber, all of ebon-hued rock, save a great square column of darkest purple in the center of the area. See, the thing with monsters and treasure, I'm just going to tell you to answer this. They suffer from FOMO, fear of missing out. They know that humans grab it, so it must be valuable. No, I would imagine deep in monster-infested areas, they have a little bit of trade going. Anyway, this appears to be some sort of formal processional way. There are 20-foot wide passages leading east and west, another north, the latter having several pillars down the center. This 40-foot square chamber is high vaulted, for the central column mass rises about 40 feet to meet the ceiling above in arches of stone. There are 2 doors giving onto this place, one on either side of the north passageway leading from the chamber. What catches your attention, however, is the purple column. It bears some sort of statue in a niche, as it is of deepest black. And we have an idol. This stone figure is about 10 feet tall. It is man-shaped and depicted wearing armor of strange design. The plates are fluted, runneled, and winged. The mail showing beneath is triangular. Some form of cape drapes the shoulders, scalloped edges hanging to the figure's knees. The hands clasp a huge wavy-edged sword. The helm, like the armor, bears many strange projections and spiky ridges. Oddest of all, its helmet face shows no openings. Then we have an idol of green, swathed in flowing gown from feet to neck, obviously male, if human at all, because of its broad chest and shoulders. The long sleeves of the garment cover the hands, a high collar stands from cheek to cheek, and a tight cap covers the head. What is obviously a mask covers the face, for whatever reason is unknown. The mask, however, is craggy and seamed, imitating an old man, perhaps. A staff leans against the right shoulder. A red idol. High boots and hose, doublet-like garment, and gauntlets. They seem foreign in make, familiar but strange. The head is covered by a long hood drawn tight round the face so as to show only an indefinable oval. An axe-like weapon with shortest handle, long blade, with many angles and top spike is set butt upwards before the idol, the gauntleted hands of the 10-foot-high statue resting easily atop the haft. Then we have a blue idol. Read magic won't tell you what the girdle it wears, which are carved with signs and sigils. Although the gist is that the deepest secrets of all are known to this one. A broad cowl covers the head and projects well beyond the face so that it is hidden in shadow. Illumination reveals only blank blue stone. The arms of the idol are held across the body to meet just below the chest, the folds of the robe hiding all, even the hands. But where they must meet projects a strange device, possibly a scepter, with convoluted end and many filigreed sections. You guys getting an S3 vibe out of that one? Only if the Great Horn, this is Area 5, only if the Great Horn, lower level inset area, is in the possession of the party will they reveal the wonders of this 4-part idol. One blast on the horn will cause all 4 figures in the entire pillar to shimmer, turn first translucent, then transparent, then seemingly disappear altogether to reveal a vaguely human-shaped figure about 12 feet tall, draped in purple, standing where the column and idols were. This form will do nothing for a segment, then a hollow sepulchral voice will boom out. What aspect of eternal Tharizdun would you see? If no answer is forthcoming from the party in a segment or so, the voice will speak again. Trouble not the mighty Tharizdun until your mind is fit to comprehend greatness. Go back. Meditate and follow what instructions are given to you by those wiser than you. With that, the figure will seem to be enveloped in black smoke, and an instant later, the column and idols will reappear. If an answer resembling any of the following is given, a more positive scene will occur. And then we have all the possible answers. When such a word occurs in the answer, the first so spoken will trigger the scene above, wherein the purple swathed figure appears and speaks thus. Now behold the, insert the correct color, face of eternal Tharizdun. With that, the figure vanishes in a flash of mauve fire. Purple smoke shoots upwards, disappears, and before the viewers there stands the 10-foot-tall figure of appropriate color. It grows before the eyes from a mere 10-foot giant to a 20-foot colossus. It then speaks. My countenance is turned upon thou, mortal. Be glad I know thou art too puny to behold it. To obtain the strength, wisdom, death, knowledge, fill in the correct one, thou seekest, you must first do that which is bid. Let it be known to you, then shall thou be favored. With that, the sequence returning the column to its original form commences. If the answer does not fit either case, then the pillar will go through its transformation, but a 4-part form will eventually be revealed. A form with 4 bodies, 4 heads, 4 colors. A 4-toned voice will boom out. Tharizdun is not to be mocked. Tharizdun brooks no dishonor. Foolish unbelievers, bear now the curse of impending doom. Tharizdun has deep-seated personal issues. Tharizdun prefers to speak in third person. Tentacles of colored light spring forth and from the quadrate figure as it rotates to present first one aspect, then another to the viewers. One tendril of each color touches each individual, and each lashing beam undulates and strikes. Each feels a tiny tingling of weakness, confusion, fear, and feeble-mindedness. Then the 4-tone voice speaks again, the pillar now returning to its former state. Seek forgiveness by faithful service, or the doom which brushed you will return tenfold. The whole thing is nothing more than a complex, programmed, permanent illusion of unusually powerful nature and clever work. Any player character not voicing a strong disbelief will feel all 4 effects of the doom anytime he participates in or witnesses any act which denigrates Tharizdun, his property, or those who serve him. Only vocal disbelief and a successful saving throw versus magic will enable the players to dispel the effects, which will grow progressively until the individual is actually driven insane by the combination of the 4 sensations. Tharizdun to Common Tongue Dictionary, possibly. Tonka says, he reminds me of a Sunday school teacher I once knew. Tharizdun sounds like a pro athlete. Doom! And then right after that's a storeroom. We got some boggarts in a square room. And then just some kind of nasty stuff. Normal, nasty encounters. So we're going to take a break there because Monday we're going to come back and we're going to wrap up WG4. But what so far? What do you guys think? What is your take on the Forgotten Temple of Tharizdun? Inquiring minds would like to know. While you contemplate that, we do a little thing here. This is for the new folks who come by who might not know exactly what's next. We do a little thing here where I like to thank the people who choose to help us out, who like to go beyond just subscribing. But again, that's an awesome thing too. So let me just take a minute to thank Joshua Garlock, Lord Corion, Ricky Maru, Mobius, Kevin Reynolds, Doomsword Deathmaster, Mark Simpson, Damien247, James F. Keck, William Smith, The Dungeon Minister, Manny Wall, Mark Corey, Kevin Wood. I have known Kevin for over 30 years. Did you guys know that? Todd Sharp, Carnivore Farmer, Rob Knows I Can't Say That, Gillis, Jeremy Roll, Bo Ganora, Mikey Mank, Sky Hernstrom, who's a very accomplished fantasy author. You guys should check out Sky's work. Pete Sullivan and John David, and we thank all of those guys for their contributions ongoing to the show. We appreciate it. I appreciate everybody. I really do. You like the shelves behind me. I'm glad you like it. Let's see. Tonka Todd says it's a crazy roach motel of adventures. It's, yeah, okay, so you go through and you spend a while fighting monsters and beating them up, and you're like, yeah, it must be pretty badass, and then you get in there, and the depression sets in, and the poison rails and stuff, and your party is just stumbling and falling all over the place. Ask your doctor if Tharizdun is right for you. Warning. Side effects of Tharizdun may include madness, skin inversion, total skeletal failure, brain epilepsy. If you experience one or more of these symptoms, you're probably toast already. It is a dungeon for a party really good at solving puzzles, and I think it balances nicely with the slaying of monsters. You get in and it just swords out. Murdertopia. You're hacking and slaying. Rivers of blood. They shall all drown in lakes of blood. Although I would tend to think that old Thulsa would be... Wait a minute. Thulsa Tharizdun. Oh, Gary, you clever son of a gun. The level range for this. Okay, so we had a question about when this was published, and we now have a question about level range. So we can just glance at the cover. It says 5 to 10. I double dog dare you to try and take a 5th level party, even of 7 or 8 characters through this. No, this is a 7 to 9 or an 8 to 10 level monster. There's nobody down on the 5th level unless they're dual classed or multi-classed. Nobody down on the 5th level needs to be in this damn module. Infidel defilers, they shall all drown in lakes of blood. Now they will know why they fear the darkness. Now they will know why they are afraid of the night. 5 times 10 levels. Jack Photon's got the right of it. Enoch Powell, wasn't he the Secretary of Defense for a while? Anyway, so this was 82. And as far as I'm aware, this was not a convention module or anything. So this is 1982 is when this module first came out. Enter something, y'all. Sometimes I do get notifications while I'm on live stream, and I don't like to leave anybody hanging if I can help it. That is a good question. When is the last time I played instead of DM'd? On a regular, good, long campaign, my buddy Kevin, that I've known for 30 years, runs one on Thursdays, but it's generally just 2 or 3 people. Kevin's a great DM. Don't get me wrong, but his jam is more like short horror games or medium-length superhero games, I think is where he really flourishes. As a player in a long-running D&D game, I would say never. I've played short-ish length games. I mean, if you're talking about one-offs, yeah, I've done that a lot here and there. And like I said, Kevin has kind of got the one going on some nights. I don't know if you're listening to this later, Kevin. Hello, my friend. But by and large, it's always kind of fallen on me to DM. Dr. Hurt, were you asking about... Oh, you're just saying you like the shells behind me. Yeah, you know. And this is not this is not like a projection thing. You know, this is all still real, and I still grab books off here for reference and everything. Used to be am I ready to be just a PC in Kyle's game? Thank you for asking that, Luther, because we have here on the channel, of course, we're 5 nights a week. And we are 5 nights a week of classic RPG experience. Okay? Whether it's me talking about a favorite module or, you know, an RPG that isn't even necessarily D&D. But you know, 3 nights a week, tonight being an exception, but 3 nights a week of the 5, we do game live streams. And Wednesday evenings, if you are so inclined, on Wednesday evenings, we are starting a 10-week classic traveler romp. So hit us up on the Discord. I linked to it earlier in the chat. But yeah, hit us up on the Discord and you can play in that. Kyle, we have 3 openings left in that game if you want to play classic traveler. Let's see. You missed I know the corner wasn't without its charm, but used to be basically like you see this door with a Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. poster over here, all that. So my angle used to be that I was sitting in that corner formed by that door and the brick wall next to it, and then there was a little shelf of goodies up behind me, and you could just see it's taken down and put away right now, but I had this massive Lord of the Rings mural on the wall, and it's from a store promo device. It's 6 feet on a side. It's 5 feet, 6 feet, something, but it's huge for the Fellowship of the Ring. And it was on this wall behind me, and you could just kind of see it to my left during live streams. But guys, I got to tell you, I had so much stuff just lying on the floor and piled in places where I didn't want it. And my wife was like, you need shelves out here. We're going to get you some shelves. And the opportunity came up. And so now I've got my minis and I've got my D&D books and board games and more war games and stuff like that. But it was kind of fun. A couple of characters survive the generation process. No, character generation in Traveler is pretty quick. It's pretty quick and pretty easy. Thank you, Dr. Hurt. I see that. You're Anglican. We hate change. You know, I've heard this joke. This is religious, and let me tell you guys something. I have faith. I'm not pushing on anybody. This is just a funny joke that I'll share with you. A non-denominational Christian passes away, and he goes up to heaven. Now, here's the thing you can do. You can insert any denomination you're not fond of in the punchline of this joke. But he goes up to heaven, and you know, the angels are walking through, and he sees these big rolling green hills and this church with a big colonial style front and the steeple, and he hears just loud singing and organ playing coming out, and he says, is that my heaven? And the angel says, no, that's the Southern Baptist heaven. He's, oh, okay. So, goes along, and then there's this big Gothic cathedral, and the bells gong, 20-foot wide rose window, and here's Latin liturgy coming from inside. He's like, is that my heaven? He's like, no, that's the Catholic heaven. We're not to your heaven yet. And then they go along, and it's a few more of these, and finally they pass this rather drab looking cinder brick affair, very plain outside, just some bushes, and he kind of glances through one of the slightly frosted windows, and there's people sitting on uncomfortable looking benches, and the pastor is just kind of droning on, and he stops and looks very pensively at the angel and says, is that my heaven? And the angel goes, no, shh, that's the, and you can say any denomination you're making fun of here that you haven't done in the previous lineup. I'm just going to pick one out of my hat. You can say, no, that's the Episcopalian heaven. They think they're the only ones up here. So, let's see. I think to honor Kyle, your Traveler character should be named Dingo Wallaby. Or, and let me just put this out there, not. AD&D 1E openings and anyone else's tables. I don't know. I don't know. Started DMing from the Genghis Khan in Colorado in the 80s. I think we're the same age, possibly. Having a logger and watching your show. Thank you, Dr. Hurt. Thank you very much. Dingoes ate my baby. You guys, you got to take this up with Kyle, because I can't even with these dingo jokes, right? I just want to see that I didn't miss anyone's comments. Retired from the ministry and have learned that nothing changes. Okay. Oh my gosh. All you people throwing shade at Kyle and naming the starship Dingo Ate My Babies or Kangaroo Hump or whatever, get in the game and do it. Okay. He won't get it. He's from the Hollow Earth, isn't he? Oh my goodness. Well, guys, it is goodness, it's 11 o'clock and I am beat. I am tired. I gotta tell you, I'm gonna share the Discord one more time. If y'all wanna pop in, stop in, join the Discord, say hello. That's awesome. You'll be more than welcome. Dr. Rotwang, why do I know that name? Why do I know that name? Gosh, that sounds familiar. Asking Gary about the rift. Gary was a lot of fun to talk to. Anyway, it's been a hell of a week, guys. So I'm probably going to wrap up here. Again, I want to thank everybody for stopping by. I feel bad because there's like, if we were like trickling down and trailing off and there were like it's just 2 or 3 people left, it's okay, all right. Well, folks obviously don't want to hear too much more, but I mean, there's 21 of you out there. That's like huge numbers for me, and I love it, and I love you guys. I do this for you guys, but if you're new to the channel, I'm going to tell you something that I said. Well, I'm not done yet. So I'm going to be here for a few more minutes. All you guys saying good night and trying to throw me off my own channel, hush up for a minute. So I'm going to tell you guys something. I saw in the space of 7 to 10 days in March of 2020, gregarious people who went out, people who had fun, weekly shopping trips to the local game store, 2-3 games a week in person, some of them, that hit a wall. And a lot of people were just like, okay, I will see the guy who delivers groceries to me and I can watch TV and that's it. I saw a lot of people hurting out there. A little crappy webcam at the time. I had a good mic. It's this mic. But a lot of my friends out there were having a pretty rough time. And one afternoon, I just grabbed my webcam. I was sitting over there next to my PC, plugged it in, got on Facebook, and said, I'm right here, guys. I'm here for you. You just need to hear a human voice. Now, I've been doing online gaming for years and years and years. My group, which is full of people whom I love dearly. I got some folks right here in town. Shout out to Tracy Lesh, Shelby, his lovely wife. Y'all are awesome. And then some of the sweetest, most wonderful people whom I care for like they're kin of my own, are all the way out on the West Coast, Pacific Northwest, as far as you can be from me and still be in the continental United States, because I'm way down here in Florida. But when I saw people, gamers, I saw it all crumbling away. And there's a lot of people, you can make fun, you can say all the, lol nerd jokes you want in the comments. But when I saw good people losing their social network, yeah, they could post on Facebook, but what were they posting on Facebook? Or what were they posting? What were they emailing? What were they tweeting? I am shut up in my house. I can't see my friends anymore. I can't play D&D. I can't play whatever they're playing. I said, guys, you're not alone. All right. Don't feel like you're cut off from the world. Here's what you can do. You don't need a 4K camera and a mic with a boom and studio headphones and Dwarven Forge and more cameras. You don't need that to play D&D or whatever game you're playing. You need a little bit of an internet connection. If you need help figuring out how to do that, hit me up and I'll help you. If your group doesn't want to go online and play because they're technophobes, find another group. But don't sit there and feel like you're Heston in the Omega Man, like you're just shut in and the rest of the world is completely gone. Don't let your enjoyment of role-playing games crumble away, and don't let your friends, whether they're new ones or friends you haven't met yet, don't let that stuff, don't let it be ruined. Don't feel like you're alone. And that's what I did. And I did it day in and day out. And I would tell everybody how to get online and game. And if anybody wants to know, I'll tell you how to do it. But we've had 2 years of practice. I think a lot of you guys have figured it out now, right? And I said then, and I'll say it now, because, I'd have, when I would stream just on Facebook, I'd have like 3 people watching, 2 people watching. I figured out how to kind of crudely stream to Facebook and YouTube at the same time. And I'd get like 4 people watching, but it's usually 2 or 3 people. But the thing that I said then, and I say it now, if there's one person out there, one person on the other end of this camera who just feels like they're just cut off from the rest of the world. They've lost everything. They can't go to the game shop anymore. They can't meet up with their friends anymore. If it helps them feel a little bit better, and it's just one person, that's fine. I'll keep doing it. Now, if the day comes and I get 0 views on my videos and 0 attendance in my live streams, well, maybe I'll find something else to do. Sell off the old DSLR and mic and headset. This giant boxy PC that I stream with. Get it out of here. Take it to Goodwill. But as long as there's just one person out there, at least just one person, that is like, okay, I can chill out and I can listen to Bill, then I'm going to keep doing it. And the fact that I got 22 now, I had 25 earlier, people listening, and I get people super chatting and subscribing and Patreoning and all that stuff, that's all just gravy. All right. I'm here for you guys. I'm here for you guys. Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Lord Corion. Chris says he's been watching me since the start of Andromeda Strain. It made things more bearable. It was otherwise complete tedium. Well, I'm going to have more good interviews. Never you fear. Luther wants me to go full William Hurt in Altered States. I don't think I'm going to be doing that. I'll drink a little bit. And so I'm going to know my wife's going to be okay, and I'm not going to have to jump up and run her to the hospital late one evening. I'll go back to having a cold and frosty beverage every now and again. Tonka says, as long as I'm drawing breath, I'm here. Ajax can't get rid of me. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. And we're going to have more guests on. We're going to have more guests. Guys, we haven't hit the bottom of this dark, murky, terrifying pool that is Tharizdun. And we have others yet to dive into. So there's plenty of stuff. And when we think we've chewed all the flavor out of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, I got 2 storage totes over there full of role-playing games that you guys probably, most of you ain't even heard of. Robert Phillips, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, brother. I really do. I really, really appreciate that. When I said I've had awesome guests on, Dungeon Minister is one of them. Well, I guess I should be pointing over here. Dungeon Minister is one of them. Talking to him the other day about him going like full LARP in his storm drains under his town. That was a trip. Thank you, Luther. From the top of my heart. But I am going to get on down the road now. I mean, I could sit here for another 3 hours and let it just peter down. But yeah, there's one or two nice Star Trek books we might have to have another look at one of these nights. But thank you again for the super, Robert Phillips. Thank you, everybody, for just hanging out and watching. I can hear very faintly. I think the mic is probably filtering it with all the accessories I got on it, but I can hear some tacos calling my name out in the kitchen. So I'm going to go take care of that situation. You guys have an absolutely lovely rest of your Friday. It must be your phone, Tonka, because I think people are seeing me. All right. Y'all have a lovely evening.